Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing make you afraid. All things are passing. God alone never changes. Patience gains all things. If you have God, you will want for nothing. God alone suffices.
So today, we're going to dive into the mind of a truly extraordinary figure from the 16th century, Saint Teresa of Avila. She was a mystic, a reformer, and a writer whose ideas about our inner lives are, believe it or not, still incredibly relevant today.
And that really begs the question, right? How did a woman, a nun living in Renaissance Spain, create such a detailed, almost psychological map of the human soul? It's a map so profound that it's still studied today. So let's get into it.
Okay, to really get a sense of her impact, you just have to know this one amazing fact. In 1970, Pope Paul VI named Teresa the very first female doctor of the Church. I mean, this is a title that's only given to saints whose writings have made a huge, universal contribution to theology. This wasn't just some fancy title, it was, no joke, a revolution. You can really break down her incredible life into these three huge roles: mystic, reformer, and doctor. Each one kind of builds on the next, and together they paint this picture of a woman with just incredible depth and, wow, determination. So let's start with the mystic. Teresa talked about these incredibly profound mystical experiences, but the most famous one, well, it's pretty wild. She described a vision where an angel literally pierced her heart with a golden spear, and she said it wasn't painful at all, but this moment of pure, ecstatic union that left her completely on fire with a love for God. I mean, when you step back and look at it, the sheer scope of her life is just incredible. So you have the mystic, someone having these direct, personal experiences with the divine. Then the reformer, who took on the established religious system of her time. A writer, who could explain these huge spiritual ideas with amazing clarity. And finally, a doctor, whose work actually became official church teaching. But here's the thing, it's not like she was born this spiritual powerhouse. Her story really starts with this massive personal transformation, a move from what she herself called a pretty worldly life to this deep, profound spiritual awakening. This timeline really shows you how her purpose was forged over time. So she's born into a noble family, enters a convent when she's 20, but check out these key turning points. A really bad illness that basically forces her into solitude and deep prayer, and then years later, this absolutely crucial moment in 1554, what she called her second conversion. And what's so wild is how simple this moment was. I mean, after years of feeling kind of spiritually stuck, she was just walking past a statue of Christ on the cross and was suddenly completely overwhelmed with emotion. That one encounter changed absolutely everything. It just reignited this fire in her that would, honestly, define the entire rest of her life. So, with all this new energy, she didn't just keep it to herself. Oh no. She looked around at her own religious order, the Carmelites, and basically saw a system that had gotten way too comfortable, way too lax. She decided it was time for a total overhaul, a return to the basics, prayer and poverty. And you can see just how stark the difference was that she was pushing for. On one hand, you had the unreformed convents, which had kind of become these comfortable social clubs. And then on the other hand, you have Teresa's vision for the Discalced Carmelites, which, by the way, literally means without shoes. It was the total opposite, a life of radical simplicity, intense prayer, and a deep focus on that inner spiritual journey. And get this, her vision wasn't just a small idea. It totally took off. 17. She personally founded 17 new convents for women. This wasn't some side project. It was a full-blown movement that swept across Spain, all powered by her incredible conviction. But, you know, when you try to change things that radically, you're going to get some pushback. And boy, did she. The members of those comfortable, unreformed Carmelite houses fought her hard. At one point, they even voted to basically force her into retirement just to stop her. But here's the key thing. She just didn't give up. She pushed through all of it. Okay, so her work as a reformer is amazing on its own. But her legacy as a writer? That might be even more profound. And that brings us to her absolute masterpiece, The Interior Castle, which is, for all intents and purposes, a roadmap to the soul's journey toward God.
So what is the interior castle? Well, think of it this way. She uses this beautiful metaphor of the soul as this giant crystal castle with tons of different rooms or mansions. The journey of prayer is a journey inward from the outer walls all the way to the very center, which is where God lives. It's just such a powerful and honestly intuitive way to think about spiritual growth. So let's break that journey down. Let's walk through the castle. You start in the outer rooms with basic prayer, just getting to know yourself. As you move deeper, you start facing challenges that take more commitment. Then you get to the inner rooms, where this profound sense of union with the divine really starts to happen. And it all leads to the center, where the soul is totally united with God. It's like a progressive path for your inner life. And here it is in her own words. It's so simple and so elegant. The big idea here is that the divine isn't some far-off thing out there. It's right there at the very core of who we are, and the whole spiritual life is just the journey to get to that center. So, what's the big takeaway from this incredible life? I think it all comes down to this one phrase that she became famous for: God alone suffices. That simple idea really captures her whole lasting legacy. I mean, her influence is just undeniable. She was made a saint only 40 years after she died. Her books are still in print, still widely read. The religious order she kicked off is still active all over the globe. And, of course, that title we talked about, the first woman ever to be named a doctor of the church.
But maybe nothing captures her practical wisdom better than this little prayer, which she apparently kept on a bookmark. It's this powerful little meditation on how to find your footing in a world that's always changing, just by focusing on what lasts forever. That last line says it all, doesn't it? Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices.
And that really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? After all this talk of mystical experiences and giant soul castles, her core definition of prayer was just, well, beautiful and simple. She said it's just an intimate sharing between friends. You just spend time alone with the one you know loves you. So what if that huge journey she mapped out, what if it all just starts with something as simple and as human as that?